everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
In honor of the new Thundercats horror series coming to Cartoon Network and people going insane,
Thundertubbies.
We're going to cover the first Thundercats reboot from 2011, which also aired on Cartoon Network.
The first reboot was created by the original crew behind the 80s Thundercats series and was meant to be a treat for original Thundercats fans and hopefully attract new ones. With a much darker tone, very complex and fleshed out characters, and an intimidating villain on their tails, this is truly a reboot gone too soon.
Right. And when it first came on, I don't know anything about Thundercats. I knew you knew about Thundercats, but I was like, what is this? I thought it was some weird cosplay anime thing. I'm like, what is this? They look weird. And it came on Toonami, and I was really late at night, and I couldn't stay up that long. I fell asleep.
You said the first time you saw pictures from the original, you said, they don't even look like cats. What are they?
Yeah, you said they're half cat, half human. Well, it's not obvious unless they're little. But in here, the new one, they actually made them look half, you can tell they're cats. Or part cat, part human.
Definitely. And I had never seen the reboot.
Me either.
And so when you said, hey, I want to buy this series for us to watch it, I'm like, okay, let's check it out.
Oh yeah, because I had seen my alpha twin Ben Deadly here using his videos a lot, and I asked him if it was any good, and he said it's like watching Voltron Legendary Defender. It's just like a fantastic reboot. So I finally got the series, and we saw it like in the summer of last year, and we finally got to see what it was. It's only 26 episodes, and wasn't sure what to expect. Just knew it was gonna be a little more serious. I thought it was good. It actually has more action in it. It's a much darker tone. While the original was like action, adventure, some comedy. This one had a little bit of comedy, but was mostly focused on story and being an actual action show
and telling a really great story.
Right.
And as you said, the animation this time around, of course, as the different time period is better. But the characters look much, much better. They are beautifully drawn. And you can see all the expressions and emotions on their faces, which I really, really like in the animated series. You've got this emotion and stuff going on in the face of these drawn characters. Brilliant. And
the detail, like when they have, like they said, they actually look like cats this time. And they actually add these little details, like they don't have humanoid eyes. They have feline eyes. Some of them have tails, some don't. They match the attributes of whatever cat species. If they get mad, you hear them growl or you hear them purr, and they have all these features in there. And it's like they really had them act like cats so you can't get confused again. And as you said, the animation was fantastic. Like watching, like you said, like an anime inspired. It was actually part anime, part Western. They combined it. And I really love how they had Thundera in the first 2-part episode. Like, wow, this looks really good, really well done. It had its own atmosphere.
And then it was destroyed.
And I was like,
but yes, it was great. I had my trepidations about watching it. I was like, okay, you said Bennett said it's good. Let's go ahead and watch it. And so the second episode, after the second half of it, you said like the pilot, two-parter, I was hooked, and I didn't want to stop watching. And you said we've got to pace it out. We can't watch it all at one time.
Yeah,
because I have this tendency. I like to binge watch everything when I get started, and I love it. And Rascals always, can we please let's just not watch it all now, and then I'm not happy.
Right.
But
I like to savor it.
I was happy we savored it, and I was sad when it finished. And when you told me they never made 2, and I was like, wow.
Yes. It turns out and people were really surprised, and it could be for them. It was actually they finally revealed why. It was supposed to have just 2 seasons because they were writing out season 2. They renewed it. Then Cartoon Network had this thing called Lego Chima, which was just blatant. Chimera, which was a blatant rip-off, like copyright infringement of Thundercats, but it was done with Legos. But because that was done in like Legos and was much cheaper to make, and their process of animation was really expensive, they shut down production and went for the Lego one and gave that 3 seasons so it would be faster and easier to produce. So they have renewed the Thundercats, but they took it back because it was costing too much money to do the animation.
Well, how'd that work out for you, Cartoon Network?
Right. And then next thing you know, it's like, what's that show again?
Right.
And people were shocked because they said this show was really good. They really just went all out. And these were the original people, so they knew what to update. They even had the original Rankin and Bass working on it. That was like, oh my gosh. So they knew what to do, what to update, and the end result was fantastic.
And it was so great that even our Nana was asking every day, are we going to watch Thundercats? Are we going to watch Thundercats?
Right.
And it was that darn good. You've got several generations loving this show.
Right.
So Cartoon Network bet on the wrong horse.
Right. And one of the also awesome part about it, they had the original Lion-O in here, Larry Kenney, right? He did the voice of the new Lion-O's dad.
Right.
And then the new Lion-O was voiced by Wilfredo. And we were like, oh my gosh, that's the first Lion-O.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And they had a big voice cast in here too.
Yes.
They had, of course, we said Wilfredo. They had
D. Bradley Brake.
Yeah, they had Clancy Brown as Panthro,
Corey
Burton, Robert Atkin Downs, Pamela Adlon,
Michael McKean. He's done quite a much. And then you had some we're not too familiar with, Emmanuel Shakir, and Matthew Mercer, Eamon Pucciarella.
Right, and then Kevin Michael.
No, Purcello. I'm so sorry.
And then Kevin Michael Richardson. That was Panthro. I'm sorry. Clancy Brown was I think his name was Groon. He was like a saber-tooth cat, I think. But yeah, they had lots
and Pamela Adlon.
Yeah, and then the characters, they still had the same characters from the original, but like I said, they were updated to where they weren't just like cookie cutter characters. Now, then this isn't talking down about the original, but compared to what we have now in the characters.
Imam Purcello. I'm sorry, I finally got it right in my head.
Okay, and everyone had their own thing, their own personality. It wasn't just Thundercat 1, Thundercat 2, Thundercat 3. Everything was really in depth, like they had for Lionel. He was really obsessed with technology, but they didn't believe it existed.
Right.
So they were like, "Oh, you're crazy!" It was like the existence of aliens for him. So he was really fascinated with technology. And in this version, Tigra is his brother.
Right.
Because I learned in the original it weren't. He was just sort of like a bodyguard for him when he was a kid. And here they're actually brothers.
And he's a little older than Lionel.
Right. And they kind of set up almost like a Thor and Loki complex.
Yes.
And they switch it around to where usually it's like the adopted brother doesn't like he was adopted. It's usually the type of theme they have. And here, he's aware, he's fine with it, but he kind of had this bit of a grudge against Lion-O that had been building up for years because of what happened, in his childhood. And you found out what happened, and it kind of just builds up.
What I did like about that, I'm glad you brought that up, because you didn't know in the beginning that they were adopted. You just said they're brothers. And then later on in one of the stories, you find out the whole backstory. As you said, there was some, there was some against Lionel, a little bit of...
it was a grudge.
Right, a little small grudge, because he thought he was going to be the prince, because she kept saying, my little prince. But then when Lionel was born and he was, the actual heir to the dynasty, and that's when the little resentment came up.
Right.
But it was so interesting because you didn't know, and I love that part about it, that from the beginning they didn't have him like, he's adopted, he's real. It was just brothers.
Right.
They're brothers.
That's it.
They're brothers, and that was wonderful. And after that story, and after that happened, it went back to being the same dynamic. They're brothers, and I love when that happens. I love when that happens, whether it's live action or it's animated, where there's not a big deal made out of it, because adopted means that you are eligible to everything that comes with being the child of the child of the parents.
Right.
So there should not be an emphasis on the word adopted. I really wish that that's one word they would take out of usage in our society, when because that child becomes their child.
Right.
And that adopted is just an insult. It just should be removed, and it's the child, the son, or the daughter. But that's the way they did it in this show, and I loved it.
Right. And also there was this theme of the term is xenophobia, and the Thundercats were like a highest ranking animal in this universe, because anyone who wasn't Thundercat wasn't really wasn't really thought of much to them except for Lionel. Like, then they had the lizards. The lizards are their enemies, but there were a few that really weren't bad, and and they had them locked up for no reason. and just for the purpose of torturing them, and he wanted to release them. They were getting mad at him because like, how can you defend them? And this whole thing came with him where, you know, he want all the animals to unite and stop this treatment. So there was this little theme going on from this arc where he wanted to unite the animals rather than just have everybody be against everybody.
Right.
And it took a while for, you know, his brother and the others to catch on because they had been used to this lifestyle for generations.
Right.
And other characters we had were
Chitara.
Of course, Panthro, Wily Kit, and Wily Cat.
That was a cute addition.
And they gave them purpose.
Fraternal twins.
Yeah, and they actually gave them a small purpose.
Right.
So they weren't just there just to be little kids. They actually could help.
They were mischievous, but they learned how to be better little kitties, is another way to put it. They learned how to be better little kitties. And they learned that when they set boundaries for them, there was a reason why, so they could be safe. And I really would have loved to see how that story ended, how they found their parents again. I really would have loved to have seen that. Right,
because it seemed like they ran away when they're looking for this lost city. They were supposed to have all this treasure and gold. And the reason why they went there is because they wanted to bring back all this stuff to help their family because they were very struggling. So that's why they had left the family. They wanted to help them, and then they got sidetracked with helping the Thundercats.
Right.
So, yeah, they did have a purpose, and it wasn't just, you know, thrown in or anything. It's like you kind of felt bad for them, especially with their extra story happened with this little raccoon who's like this master thief who literally could do everything, and he had this little bag called Forever Bag, and they had this little treat where to open it.
He was the original Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, they had this little treat where to open it you had to say the magic word, which was Rankin Bass.
Yes.
I was like, oh, like that was like a brilliant little Easter egg.
And don't forget Snarf.
Oh yeah, and Snarf, and everyone was annoyed with him at first, but then when they got to this one, he's just like a little pet. He's not a nuisance. It's just like, why are you here?
Right. Now, as far as the villains, Mumm-Ra became a really big threat in this version of the series, and they gave him some really upgraded powers. And only thing is, he transformed too much for me. Every time I transform, I'm like, oh, okay.
And he has to go through the whole process, like all over again.
And it's like, you're not He-Man. Just get it over with and be done.
Mumm-Ra. And then, of course, they had like the groom who betrayed the Thundercats. They had Sly, who's one of those lizard generals. Atticus was the ape.
Kanar.
And
Voltaire was a play on the writer's name Voltaire. I remember telling you that when they described the character. I said, that's a play on Voltaire, the actual Renaissance writer.
Yeah, I was like, man, there was some really deep references in this show. Right. And then you had Mumm-Ra, who you've discovered what.
Don't give it away.
Oh yeah, okay. Wait till you find out before I accidentally reveal it.
But she ended up being an interesting character.
Exactly.
She's actually reminiscent of Catra.
Yes.
And I should say Catra is reminiscent of Mumm-Ra because she was first.
Right. And when we were watching the episodes, the story was actually very, very good. Now, most people who watched the original, one of the divisions came with, this version was way too serious. Where's the fun? Where's the comedy?
There was lots of fun, lots of comedy, and lots of plot twists. It just wasn't. It was great.
It wasn't just, you know, filler. It wasn't
nonsense.
Right. And they even had one like when Tigra took a love potion, he was really nice to everybody. And they're like, "What is wrong with you?" And he was just useless the whole episode because he was too soft-hearted about everything.
I think it was a perfect balance of the silly and the serious and the drama. It was actually a perfect series. I could not believe just how awesome and amazing the series was. And again, Cartoon Network took another route and didn't continue on with the series. And so, quickly, who was your favorite character?
Lionel. Definitely Lionel.
For one of the few times, yes. Usually I go for the very serious ones, as you always tell me, but Lionel was my favorite.
Right.
Just like originally in the Supergirl show. Supergirl was my favorite until season 3.
Right. And with Lionel, they just gave him like a lot of character. Yeah, he still had teenage flaws. They had to have that love triangle thing going. It's like,
he fell in love with everybody he met.
Right. It's like, that's okay, could we give him somebody? I don't know if he actually ends up anybody in the original, maybe they would have written that in, and probably by that time would have given up, and then someone would have been interested in him, and like, here we go again.
Right.
But the point is, he was a very likable character. Sometimes he was headstrong because he was still a teenager, so it made sense.
I think
but
part of that was also Wilfredo. I mean, his voice was perfect, and you love Wilfredo, and he has that everyman character that comes through in his voice.
Right. And you know, he did have a good heart. He wanted, you know, everyone to be safe. He was becoming a good leader, because when Tiger took over, everything went to hell. But it's a really great take on the character. And one of my favorite episodes, despite it being a little sad, was the fourth one they had, where they met these little plant creatures. I think they were called, what were they called? The Peltars? They were like little bitty plants.
I remember, yeah. And that was something we'd never seen done before. It was really, really interesting.
The Petalars. And they were just these little plant people that were trying to find their way home in this forest. And they said they go to...
It's an interesting concept you've never seen done on any other animated show, and we're not going to tell you about the episode because it will ruin it.
Right.
Because you're surprised as the whole episode goes.
Right.
So
and,
we're not going to tell you.
Right, and how deep it got, how the characters were, the bittersweet parts. Is kind of like it makes you have feels by the end of it. Even the characters end up tearing up.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's probably one of the best ones of the series.
Definitely. So if you have seen this series, let us know what you think in the comments below. Let us know if you think we need to do a petition to get Cartoon Network or somebody like Netflix to pick this up and air it from the beginning and the other seasons that they didn't release. That would be awesome. If you agree, let us know in the comments below. Right,
because they revealed that they did have plans of how the thing was going to end, because it almost had a reminiscence of Thanos, the way they were building this up to way before Infinity War. They were kind of going to have this final showdown. And then, and then next thing you know, we get Thundercats Roar. We'll still give it a chance, but I'm looking at it and it's like, help me.
So let's petition Netflix to get this show on Netflix and air it from the beginning.
Yeah, and revive the show.
Yes, absolutely, positively. So let us know if you think that's a great idea, and let's get on it.
Yes. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace, and thanks, Bennett.
Flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Hit her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket.